Welcome everyone to the Smart Table Virtual User Group session. We're really excited that you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's kind of chilly today, but I know that up in the East Coast you're getting a lot of snow. So we're glad that you're taking time out today to join us. If you want, if you join us in our Educator to Educator regular webinars, we sometimes have a back channel going. There's a lot of things that happen in the table webinar, a lot of new things. So we're trying to minimize a lot of that back channel. So if you like that, we apologize that we're not going to use that. If you like it and think that we should go back to that model, we definitely will. But for today, we're going to use our question panel. So if you can go ahead and introduce yourself. We have a great group today. I'm excited. Jamie's joining us. Linda and her group from Oak Hill, congratulations for joining us today. I'm glad that you're here. And so go ahead and introduce yourself in that group, and we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. We've got a filled agenda. You can definitely participate, and then you can practice with us if you'd like. Hey, Jeff, glad that you're here. Elsa's here. Oh, gosh, Elsa's joining us from Columbia. Linda's from Dallas. Carla is District 2. She's a kindergarten teacher. Well, keep introducing yourself, and I'll keep trying to watch those introductions, but we're all glad that you're here today. Mary Meadows, oh great, from St. Louis. Ooh, I'm excited. We're all over the place today. So keep doing that. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So what are we going to do today? Well, as I said, there's a lot that I'm going to cover today. We're going to do a quick introductions. Keep introducing yourself. I'm glad that you guys are all here. We're going to talk about the purpose. Well, a reminder, many of you might be new to the webinar, so I want to do a quick review of where you can find some documents. We are going to talk about Symphony and Scrapbook, just a little update. We are going to, I'm going to share some tips and tricks for creating, and I'm actually going to create something, and afterwards I will share all my resources that I am working with, so you won't have to. You can go back and watch the webinar and practice with them, but you can do some of the simple things that I'm going to do and just use your own content, so that's perfectly acceptable. We'll talk about the Smart Exchange, and then a review of where you can find where I'm posting these resources, and then an update to when our sessions will be. As always, if you want to bookmark this last email or website address, info.smarttech.com, Smart Table VUG. That's where we'll be posting the registration, so you could send one link out and always have the most current registration link, when the dates are, all of that. So this might be a really good website to bookmark, so you'll know when to catch us. So who am I and who is my great colleague? So I'm Heather Lamb. I am the education consultant out of Texas, and I'm leading the webinar. And Tara Mattingly, she is up in Maryland, and she is watching the back channel. Not the back channel, the questions. So if you have any questions, let Tara know, and she'll do her best to answer those. As always, if we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer. The resources, as I said, I will share these resources. So this notebook file, and I realize that some of you may not use Smart Notebooks, so I will put it into a PDF form so that you can be able to review it. And then the videos are archived under the YouTube channel, but then we'll talk about our Course Park educator to educator location that will also have those resources. So that's good to know. So why do we do this? Well, as always, we're really just trying to collectively create smart table activities, how to best use those skills and techniques. The table, it's not a hard tool to use. There's just some little nuances that we hoping that these webinars will help you to graduate to not just using the content but building the content, but also sharing best practices and resources. I'm leading this myself today with Tara's help on the backside, but we've had teachers and educators, and I've got some that I'm going to, some of you have actually indicated that you would be willing to share, so we'd love it if you will join us and share your expertise, but also network. So on that course park, when we talked about it, oh yay, Mary says her table was just delivered today. So Mary, this may be a little, I'm going to go through some resources, but it may be a little much, but go back and watch it. So once you get going with your table, it'll be very, very beneficial. But we like to network with you. So I'm actually going to show something. This picture right here was taken with something I created, so I'm going to use that today. All right. So how can you participate? Well, you have, you've had a demo table for several weeks, so that's good. So Mary's had a demo table. That's good. So you're going to be very, very good at it. So go ahead and ask those questions as I go along. We'd love it if you raised your hand, but you don't have to. If you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand, and I will acknowledge you and you're all muted, but then I'll turn your mic on, or unmute you, and then you can ask your question. So it's not hard, and we love it if you would ask the questions, but you can always ask the questions in our question panel. So that's a little less probably stressful. If you do ask a question, it works well if you have a mic and a headset, but we've used just regular computers. People have their mics inside of their computer that have worked just fine. So do that. Ask those questions as I go along, and you can definitely participate. And I've got the session recorded right now, so you can go back and watch that YouTube channel and check out our course park information. So let's just dive right into it. So just, Mary, this would probably be good for any of you that are just getting started. I want to bring light into where that user's guide is, and the reason I do that, whoops, let me close that out. So the reason that I do that is so that you will know where to find the resources. And for the table, that resource that I had a picture of it just a second ago, that resource is a really valuable resource for you and for, really just getting started and such. So let's go out. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm on our main website, smarttech.com. And I am going to go to software downloads. It's a little different, but if you go to the software downloads page, and this is in the file that I'll share, if you go there and you scroll down to the picture of the table and you choose a version, so you'll probably want version 3.1, but if not, you can go to the previous versions. But I'm going to focus today on version 3.1. You select that. And here's your download information. So you don't necessarily need to download the table software unless something happens and you need to, because you don't put this software on your computer. So this is actually what goes on the table, and we'll talk about updating your table in just a second. But I really want you to look at the support documents right here. So that's where I want you to keep your eye out for. So let me clear that ink. So let me click on that. And here is what I really want you to think about. So if I come down here and go to the product guides, this Smart Table 3.1, it's all one guide, but it has an incredible user's guide for the toolkit. The toolkit, you'll notice, is only version 2.6. So the software, if you have questions about the table software, you'll find that. But this user's guide, if you're just getting started, this user's guide, and I have it downloaded and I'll share it, but it really will take you kind of step by step, really in a good fashion and easy to understand and easy to use. So I'm not a big fan of printing out tangible hard copies, but in this case it might be something as you're getting started that you might want to have one available. So just keep remembering that, and I did that. I put that in here for you. So it just kind of goes through each one, and I did this so that when you review this, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember what she said. The thing that you don't have to do, so we talked about the version 3.1. So the nice thing about the table, from version 2.6, you can actually go with a USB and download the software if you want. And if you do download that, you'd plug into your USB right there, or any of the USBs, and do it. It'll populate and say, hey, it looks like you want to update. But if you connect your table to wireless, or if there is actually underneath the table, it's underneath, right, so you'd have to go through this the stand, the legs right here, and there is actually a Cat5 cable port that you can plug into so you can be hardwired. If you're familiar with Smart Notebook, you will notice this check for updates option. You'll be able to, if you're connected to the internet, check for updates. It'll update directly, so you don't have to do the manual download from that website I was at and then plug in your USB. This is the easiest way, but sometimes depending on your network, that the hardwired might be better, and even the USB might be your option. So any USB, download it, plug it in, and then it should populate and say, hey, it looks like you need to update. So some of you might just be getting your table like Mary, and you might say, well, I don't know. I need to check out and see what version of my table that I have. So on the table, I'm going to recommend, if you're brand new with the table, to go back and listen to, say, the November and October session of the webinar, because I go into this more detail. But this is called the teacher mode. And so teacher mode, there's a lot of things that you can do, but one of the things that you can do is you can check which version of your table, oh gosh, you can't really see that. You can check which version of your table you're looking at. So to get this screen right here, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can plug in your USB, and when you plug in your USB at any point, it'll actually populate to this teacher mode. So you can do USB, or you can watch or read the user's guide. So watch the webinars or read the user's guide that will tell you how to get this little gear. You can press in the center of your table. You can push 5 fingers down, hold them for about 9 or so seconds, and this gear will actually populate at the bottom of wherever your on button is, this little gear. So when you press on that gear, you'll get well, the whole thing, the whole teacher mode. So you'll get that. When you want to exit out of it, you press on that icon again, and it will actually get out of that mode. But what you can do while you're in this mode is you can come in and you can say, oh, I want to see what version I'm running. So if I go back to this screen, you can go to technical support. Notice that this image that I took, this image is only running version 3.0. So I would definitely want to update this table that I took that image from. So hopefully that makes sense. You may want to check that and see what version you are running so that you can update to 3.1. And we'll talk about one of the benefits of updating to 3.1. The other thing that we're going to talk about a lot more today, so I'm not going to talk too much about the table, but I'm going to talk about the toolkit. So the toolkit is what you build and what you use on your computer. So I have, let me get down out of here. So I have the toolkit, whoops, right here, open, and we're going to go through this. So this is actually what you build with if you're ready to start building. You don't have to. There are many applications and many table activity packs that are just, you can use them as is. But if you're kind of interested in how I built this, we're going to go through just kind of a high-level look at it. So the table software, the table toolkit software is only version 2.6 right now. It has not been updated, and that's what we have right now. So that's just if you're asking, well, I wonder if I'm missing version 3. It's not. So version 2.6 is the version that you will have for the toolkit. It is Windows and Mac compatible. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. Just a little bit on the table. Again, so when you're on your table, you are going to, so I'm going to put this picture right here. So I'm going to go in first, and I'm going to go to the teacher mode just like I did, and I'm going to go right here to choose activities, so those activity packs. Once I do that, I'm going to get this screen. So if I populate this, let me move that down. I'm going to get a screen that will look like this. And so this screen, you'll notice that. So if I look at the first option, that first option is like your hard drive. So this is everything that's going to live on your table. The next option is your USB. So if you download something, which we'll talk about in a second from the Smart Exchange, you'll download it to a USB. Maybe you're at home and you want to see what's out there, and you find some activities that support your curriculum, whether you're or Common Core, whatever you're doing. You might want to save them to a USB, then you'll be ready to use them. The other way is the Smart Exchange. The only caveat to the Smart Exchange is that you need to be on the internet to be able to look at that. So if you're not on the internet, it won't be able to read. Just like here, I've got all of these pages that are already on the table. You'll get the same thing, or it'll give you a message that says, hey, it doesn't look like you're connected to the internet. So you'll need to be connected to search the Smart Exchange, just like you would on your computer. So those are kind of the ways that you can work with your table. So I'm going to erase this. Whoops, that might help if I do, sorry. So let me go back to my eraser, and I'm going to do a little, get rid of that quickly. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that, because there's a lot of misconceptions about how those work. So basically, if I had something on my USB, I'm going to find it. So I would click on that little USB link, find it, and I would open it. So you can see that the icon down here. This would be highlighted, open. Once I open it, you're going to see it right here, and it's going to say this is your open activity. So the minute you open it from your USB, it's now opened and saved into your hard drive, into your table content. So that's kind of the process. So once it's here, you might say, oh, that's not really what I wanted. Then you have the opportunity, and you can come in, and you can actually go in, and you see there's a delete button right next to it that would be highlighted if I had selected something. So those are your options. You can also rename from the table if you wanted to. There is a keyboard that will populate. While you're here, so let's look at this other, what we have is called the clipboard. So you'll notice that I have a folder here. So this folder is nice because on your table you can actually organize. So let's say you have one table and you're sharing it among 3 colleagues. Well, you might have Mrs. Lamb has this table, Mrs. Jones has this table, or that's not a table, has another, or she has a folder, sorry, Mrs. Lamb has a folder. Well, I can create another folder, call it Mrs. Jones's folder. I could create another folder, call it Mrs. Mattingly's folder. Then every time the table comes to Miss Mattingly, she would open up her activities that are in that folder. That's what the clipboard is for. So you would take, and it's a little tricky, so I encourage you to do this on the table. Obviously, I'm on my computer, so I can't model it today, but what I would do is, let's say I wanted colors to be in this folder right here. So I'm going to press and hold this down until it kind of highlights. I'm going to drag it over here until I have, and maybe I want to drag this one over here. So I'm going to have those 2 activity packs. This option button will say select all. So once you do this once, it's a really, and I don't have the pictures, it'll say select all, so it'll select all those. You'll take those, so let me see if I can do this. Let me ungroup. All right, so I'm going to take these, see if I can model this. All right, whoops, let's see. I'm going to take this one, and okay, let's be nice. It's just being a little finicky today. I'm going to take those, and okay, I'm going to lock that. I should have locked it in the first place. Now, highlight them, and move them into that folder. Sorry, that wasn't as pretty as it could have been. So hopefully that'll give you, some ideas of what you can do to help to get those activities, those applications. There's also, so if you want, you'll have, there's applications that you can actually load that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But the applications are activities that don't need too much customizing. So the way that the activities or applications will look at, some of them will say, oh, I don't need customizing. You can actually just open them straight and they'll open up on the table. So I did put a picture of the 442. This is the 442i, and then we have the 230i. So the updates, everything that I've been sharing will work on both tables. It's different technology, but everything that I'm doing, I've updated actually some tables, and it's worked great. The 230i will take the version 3.1. All right. So I think hopefully that you got that. My highest encouragement would be to just practice those routines. If you're not ready to create your own content, it's just, it's very, very repetitious of that process. So once you get it, once you practice it, it just kind of, it's like, oh, that makes sense, but it's just getting there. So we do have applications. So let me come out here and let's go to here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, applications. So hopefully you've got to log into the Smart Exchange. And if I come over here to File Type, so I'm logged in, I'm going to come to File Type, and you can see I have Activity Packs and I have Applications. So applications are third-party activities, just like apps might be on a device, a tablet. So there are all of these applications. Some of them have the ability to customize at a real low level. Some are just, you use them as is. So we've got some free ones, and then when you scroll down, you'll see some that are fee-based ones. So I would encourage you to try out the free ones, and then if you like those, you might dabble into those. You can find out more. We do have premium ones that are also up here that you can find out. So they are single license for you, so that's what it says in the EULA. But if I come back, and so if I go back to page 1, these are applications so that you can download. Now remember, I said that you could be connected to the internet and you can actually download these and use them straight from the table. So the process that I'm going to show you is, if you aren't connected to the internet and you or you don't have a strong enough internet connection, that process. But I'm also going to show you, because we're going to do something with these applications. So if I come out here and I found the place value train, I say, oh yeah, I'm going to download that. So basically I would select the download button. I'm going to get the option of what do I want to do. I want to save it, and I'm going to save it somewhere. So it'll save in my downloads. I might create a folder, whatever. What you're going to get is you're going to get an icon. So let me pull up this folder, and I'm going to show you. Do you see the object sort icon on my screen? I haven't done anything with that, but that's what you'll have, that if you don't have the internet and you want to add an application to your table, you'll copy that. Don't double click it on here. You'll copy it and you'll place it on your USB and open it up from your table. So that's what I'm looking for, is that little icon. So let me minimize that back. So these are the steps. So I download it, I save it, and I have the icon. So there's two things that I can do with it. The first thing is that I'm going to be using, I want to create, so I'm going to create something in my table toolkit. So this is the toolkit. This is the program that allows you to create your own activities. It comes with some some default content like addition. Addition is a default content. Addition plus is default. So I can scroll down and you'll see hot spaces is default. But you'll notice that I have some games or activity applications that are different than maybe you have. A is for Apple game or the Bubble Phonics or flashcards or grouping games. Those are third-party applications that you notice that I've added over here into my activity pack that my students are going to interact with. So hopefully you're asking yourself, hey, how did she get that there? So let me go back. So I've downloaded those 3 things, or I've done all those 3 steps, and I want to get over here and I'm going to do something with it. So if you'll watch me, and then I'm going to take a break and ask if there's any questions or anything that I can go review. So I've already got it downloaded right here. So the first thing you have to do is you can't have your activity pack showing. So I'm going to add this because I want to have that object sort as one of my options. Why would I want to do that? Well, I might want to create an activity pack that I don't have to go over to the students every time I want to change them into a new application, into something new. So I build an activity pack. So this would be a center activity, so to speak. So this has 6 applications, though my students will probably spend 20 or so minutes going through, each one of these applications versus me having to self-monitor or monitor what my kids are doing and having to go back and change. So it's their self-monitoring basically. So I am going to, let me get, and I'm going to close this, and you have to close this for a reason. So watch what I'm going to do. So basically, I've downloaded Object Sort from the Smart Exchange. My Table Toolkit is closed. When I double-click on here, it's going to open up the Table Toolkit, and hopefully, it says please wait. We'll scroll down here, and I should have in Alpha Object Sort right there. So if I said, oh, I'm going to use that, I can use it all by itself, or maybe I'm going to use another app. And I'm going to build some of these that I have that I don't have to customize. And I can tell which ones I can customize or which I don't. Like if I go to Object Sort, it'll say this third-party application is not customizable. That means that I can't do anything until I get to the table. Maraquita is not customizable. Place value train is not customizable. But if I save this, then and load it to the table, then my students are able to self-monitor and go through each one of these applications for a center without me as the teacher having to go and change them up every time. So basically what happens is if the student gets to Maraquita and they are done with it, they'll raise their hand and say, we're done with that. You don't have to go back over and change it out. So that's basically how you do that. That's a really simple way to build an activity pack. What I would do, I would save it, and it would say, well, where do you want to save it at? Well, I would find a place that I would save those, and it was going to save it as your Smart Table activity pack. That's a simple way. So all I did, I downloaded those 3. I had that little icon downloaded, and then I need to double-click on it. It will add it to your toolkit. Now you're probably asking yourself this. So how does the table read it? Because if you don't add it to the table is going to give you a message that says, hey, I don't have object sort. It's like if you have a computer, I had a friend that gave me a file that she had created in KidPix. Well, I don't have KidPix on my computer, so you get that message that says, hey, I can't read that. Do you have something I can read it with? Do you have a program? Something like that. So the same thing is going to happen if you put it into the toolkit, but it's not on the table. The table's going to say or have a message that says, hey, I can't read that. So you'll need to either do one of two things. You can go, let me go back here. You can go to, remember how I said if you go out here and you can choose activities, you can find the applications when you're connected to the Smart Exchange. You can find object sort and open it. When you do that, it's going to save it and actually download it to your table, and it'll be there hanging out ready for you until you need to use it. So I would need to make sure I had object sort, the Ladybug, Maracuita, and place value train all downloaded, but I have to be connected. If I'm not connected, that's when this comes in handy, because I can take that download right here. Let me go back to that folder. I could take those downloads, place them on my USB, and open them from my USB. So hopefully that made a little bit of semblance of something. Tara, do we have any questions or anybody asking a question about anything that I need to review? Let's see here. I was going to try to see if we had any. Let's see. I don't think I have any questions. Tara's put in here some where you can find the applications. So hopefully, thanks, Mary. My explanation, it's very hard to, without a table, was fabulous. I hope so. It's very hard to, those steps, they are very, very routine, but until you get in the routine, it's like they just kind of go right over and you go, what? So I appreciate that. So that's basically, and I'll, as I said, I'll share this file and everything. So good. Well, good. Then I have no questions, so I'm going to go on. So let's just, I went through adding those applications, so I went through those steps. I did put steps, download it, don't click, I put the steps in there, so when you open up this file, it'll give you a review for that. So the other thing I will tell you is that if you try to open up an activity pack, you can only have one activity pack open at the time. So those of you that are familiar with Smart Notebook and that cross kind of pollination, you can't do that you can only have one instance. So that's just a thing to note. So if I wanted to add something else, I'd have to close this out, and I'm not going to save it, but I would have to go back in and double click and do the steps again. All right, so let's go out here, and I'm going to open that activity pack back up, so I'm going to use that in just a second. The manual steps, I gave you those manual steps as well if you don't have the internet. You can do this, so I'm running off my computer, so if you wanted to, a couple of things. I don't, everybody's time is their time, and sometimes my family would be gone, and I'd say, I'm going to just, after I would teach all day, I would say, I'm just going to look at this. So you can download the toolkit onto your computer at home. You can download those apps, so you're kind of can play with them. You don't have to, if you didn't want to, you don't have to wait until you get to school. So you can download that toolkit from the website. You can also download those apps and be ready to go. You just need to make sure that when you get to school, you do all those steps. So version 3.0, you had to download Symphony and Scrapbook on your own. So you had to download those apps to be able to use those. With version 3.1, they are actually part of the download. So if you updated your table to version 3.1, they would be part of the download process. Doesn't seem to be a real problem except when you want to be able to use these applications. So what you will have to do is what I've done is you'll have to put them, so you would download that just like I've done right here. You would go through those steps, and you would have Scrapbook and Symphony in your toolkit, and then you would have those. Even if you had those two applications, you would have those two applications. They're not customizable, but if you're going to use them, you have to put them inside of an activity pack. So the question, Mary, the table connects to the internet, so when you're on the table, you would actually X out into the desktop before you even, like, you'll have a desktop just like a computer, and you'll go down to your icon, or you probably will go down to your little internet. I don't have one of those because I'm hardwired, but you would go down to your little internet button and click on it, and then use the on-screen keyboard to log in all your details. So good question. So that's how it connects to the internet. So you'll have to, before you get into your activity packs, there's a little icon that will have a picture of, actually it'll have a picture of, let me find it. It'll have a picture of the table down in your notification bar. Before you click on that, go in and go through the steps, find the little network bars, and click on that, and you'll find your network. So the online keyboard should be, and I've had a couple of people ask me about this, so I'm going to check. We have a question. Linda, you have a question about how do you get the online keyboard. So I've had a couple of people inquire to me, not today, but about that. So I'm going to do a ask of that, is because it should be populating out, but I don't know if there's a setting that needs to be turned on. So I'm going to, Tara might know something, and then she can answer that out to everyone, and if not, I will get the questions. But the table should have an on-screen keyboard that when you select the item, there should be one, just like it does in Windows 7. It's the Windows 7 or Windows 8 keyboard that should show up. But I've had a couple of people actually that have asked me about that, so that's a good question. All right, so let's see where I'm at with this. All right, so why do I want to, here's what Scrapbook does. Scrapbook allows you to use pictures. It allows you to type text. It allows you, actually, if you have a smart document camera, you can plug it in and put items under your document camera and capture from. You can notice that I have the little folder right here. So let's say let's say that you are studying, you're getting ready to study maybe something that has to do with spring, like ladybugs or something, and you have a bunch of ladybug pictures that you can plug in your USB, and then the kids can actually go to that folder and pull up all the images, place them around, and there's 3 different books, so they can place them and make their own little scrapbook. The reason this is cool, and the reason why updating to 3.1 is because before you could press on here and the kids could view your scrapbook on the table, which is good. It's cool. It's a digital archive of your scrapbook. It could be a group consensus of things. You're working together to create it. It does tap into the Smart Exchange, but now what you can do is there's actually a tab that will allow you, or a button that will allow you to export it as a PDF. So that's one big benefit of updating to 3.1. So remember that you'll need to place have Scrapbook as an application in your activity file, in your activity pack. Symphony is another cool one that you will also have to put into your activity pack. So I have a little button right here. Supposed to go there. So what you can do with Symphony, and the reason that I would recommend downloading the user's guide is because it goes into a little more detail on Symphony and Scrapbook and what you can do. But with Symphony, there's a metronome. You can save your file, and it saves it as a MIDI file that you could use it for playback on a computer. So that's really nice. You can save it. So you can see the different options. So you can have 4 students. You can start the recording. So the way this works is you can record your information. So all the kids are playing. Then you'll stop it, you'll rewind it, and then you can play it. What's really nice is that it'll have all these little dots that show all the music that correlate with these colors. Then then you can go back and try to replicate the music. So it's really robust, and you can have, and then maybe you take this, you start off with maybe just your little drums that are the regular drums, and then you change it into an electronic format. So kind of nifty and neat. There is, if I search in the Smart Exchange, there is some example content that you can download if you search example content. I believe if I search example content. Yep, it doesn't have a picture, but it's there. If you have a table of 442, anything with an HD means it's been optimized. So if I downloaded this, it would be that example content. This one it will work, it's for the 230i. This one's been optimized for the 442i, the new white table. When you're searching, make sure that you always are looking for smart table activity packs. These notebook will work with the table, but you have to put it inside of an activity pack. So I've had some people that will download these great notebook lessons. They don't work outside of that. They need to be within the activity pack. So make sure when you do any searches that you're looking for smart table activity packs. So for instance, let's say if I'm looking for, I'm just kind of, since I said ladybug, I select go. Well, there's lots of things that are going to show up. There are 2 activity packs that have something to do with ladybugs. Colors of plants and animals. So notice these are 2 of the same, but this one has been optimized for the Smart Table 442. That would be the one, if I've got that table, the one I would download. Is a pre-K, and we get a lot of requests for pre-K content. So the other really cool hint is if you say, gosh, I like that. I wonder what else that Macmillan has created. If you click on that link right there, it should bring up everything that Macmillan has created. Look, 150 activity packs that have been created by Macmillan. Pretty nice. The other thing, I'll just throw this out there that I saw this. So the table does come ready for 3D content, but you have to use it within Smart Notebook on the table. So you can see that there's some 3D content if you're ready for that. We probably need to do that in another session. Okay, so let's stop. I'm looking, I think Tara's been answering all your questions. Looks like you guys are intently watching. So if there's something that you need me to repeat or go over, please let me know. I think I'm going to go on for time just so you can see how to build something really simple. When I start building an activity pack, what I do is I start in themes. So I don't think individual lessons, I think themes. So whatever your theme is, if your theme, whatever your standard is, you might build it around, a theme. Search the Smart Exchange. Go back and search through and see what people have done. You can't borrow things. You can take the whole activity pack, but unfortunately you can't take activity packs apart. So you can delete things, but you can't add to them. So if you found something that you liked, but you only liked 3 applications out of it, definitely you can remove the other ones that you don't like. You just can't add anything to, let me say that better. So if I found one, I can delete something out of it, but let's say I wanted, I wanted this background. It was a cool background. Or maybe like this, I said, ooh, I like that background. I can't pull that background out. That's what I'm trying to say. I can delete one of these applications or add to some of these applications, but I can't pull backgrounds. I can't pull images out of it and make my own activity pack. That was a better way to say that. Don't start from scratch. Use your images that you have, your audio. Use worksheets to guide. I've looked at a worksheet and said, I can turn that into something. Copy and paste, use your camera tool, and then how to create backgrounds. That we did get a question about how do you create some backgrounds. So let's just look at this really fast, and I'm going to take you through how I built this. This one really didn't have a theme because I was trying to get the most bang for my buck in the time. So I'm going to start and I'm going to show you. This A is for is a game. It's and it's available to download, and if I come back to the home, it's in the Smart Table applications under File Type. So if you can come here and you can scroll down. So it might take me a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is say A is for, and see what happens. There it is. So I would download that right here. There is one that's a challenge one. So it looks like there's a free one, but they're all free. But this one's more of a challenge. I think it's been created, so you can see kind of the grade levels. But this one, I just downloaded the free one, and you can customize it. So what does it mean that I can customize it? This one is customizable. So I'll show you what I did with this. Some of these games are really, really easy to customize. So I'll show you what I did. So first what I did is I gathered a bunch of pictures. This could be whatever my theme was. So what I decided is the kids are going to randomly find animals that are by letters. So they went through, and this is, dragging in by letters, and that's actually what it does. So they can do random letters. You see that it gives you the steps over here on what you can do. Make sure that there's 2. So this is really kind of like a letter sorting is what it is. So I went through. It's pretty easy. You just add images. I just came in, pulled this up, went over here and found all my pictures, copied all of my pictures and drug them in. That's not where I got them from, but that's how I got all those pictures. Then what's pretty nifty, if you see the little check mark, you actually have to add your recording. So I can add audio. So if I add audio here, I just have to press the button, and you can start and you add your audio, or you could do your own audio off like in an audio program. But I liked this. I just said, whoops, let me say yes, and chimpanzee, and I say okay, and then it has that. If you don't like it, then, well, I don't know if you can hear that, but I could hear it. But then if I take it away, I'm going to have to re-record it because it won't let you finish without the recording. So, oops, I think I was recording my voice. So now I have a recording there. So what happens in this activity is there's a little professor. So I encourage you to try this. There's a little professor that comes up, and he'll say, find all the animals that start with A. And then you have to find everything that starts with A. So you notice there's 4 C's, and so it's really just an alphabet kind of activity. So that's called A is for, and it is, I'm not going to save that. I'm going to leave that. Let me go back here. So that was A is for. There's another one by the same company, grouping game. So what I did with grouping is, and I gave you these numbers, I created these in Notebook, but I did odds and evens. So basically I have 2 groups, and I said, I want you to find all the odds, and you just drag all your numbers. It could be people, it could be things. I started off doing 2 legs and 4 legs, but if you're doing mammals, if you're doing amphibians, whatever working on, whatever skill, whatever strategy, whatever Common Core standards. So you can see that I have odds and evens, and the professor comes on and says, can you find, he's English, can you find the odd groups? Can you find the even groups? You can also define if you want positive feedback, if you want incomplete group, incorrect group, time up, so you can give some feedback that you can actually record yourself, or, so notice I can start the recording and say, that's great work. So you can actually add your own recording inside of that. Or you can browse and make your own recording. So that's basically it. Then I would save it. So pretty simple. I picked those because they really are. It's drag and drop. There's some other ones that are drag and drop as well. It does open in a local host, but this is just on your computer. Some of the other apps you can preview, those you can't. So I wanted to show you this, and I will share the backgrounds for this. I'm going to just spend a couple more minutes on this. I'm going to show you how to make a background. So look at this. This was a background that I created. So let me show you what it looks like. So if I come here, so there's animals, there's grouping. Let's see, here's hot. So I made these. This was actually a notebook file. You can do your backgrounds. You can create them whatever format that can create a JPEG or a PNG file. So if you've got a Mac and you have some fancy program that will create files, you could do that. But you can do PowerPoint, however you want to. But notice this is a notebook file that I created, and I created it once because I was able to then go back in and change it. Why is this important? Let me show you how I did this. So I made this all in Notebook, and I can do an export as an image file. And then it'll create my backgrounds. As I did them as PNGs. You can do them as JPEG. But that's what I did. I made one background, and then I changed it up. If you're going to use, do it PowerPoint, I made some backgrounds in PowerPoint to show you it's pretty easy to do PowerPoints. Any way that you can make a background, it's easy enough to do it. The reason I did this is because notice that there's 4 colors. So I could have 4 students. Notice I did highest to lowest, lowest to highest. So those kids that have wandering eyes that look over here, maybe they need to pay attention a little more. I did labels, so this took me a little time to process how I was going to make this. This is a hot space activity. So hot spaces, what it means is each one of these boxes is hot. So I got my labels in here. So this is ordered from lowest to highest. This is the space. So I have my background that I brought in here. I have a space, and I'm going to drag and make a little space right there. And now it's hot. So where do those little labels start? They started here. Right here in this little, whoops, they started here and they ended, the right answer is here. So how I did this is I selected here, so this says, so here's my first, I'm going to say start position. So I want them to start right here, double click, and I'm going to say 685 label, whoops, I have 2 labels, so let me do that here. I'm going to do 349. And 295. Now the end position is, whoops. So I had to do it this way, otherwise I couldn't figure out which one was which. So this says ordered, so I'm going to put 2 here, 6 here, and 3 here. What does that look like? Well, let me preview this, and I'll show you. On the table, this is what it would look like. Now I only have 1 space. I guess I should, but let me show you how this is going to work. So if I put this here, oops, I didn't pay attention. And the reason it did that is because I only had 1 space. So let me escape out of here and go back to here. So if I wanted to, I would do hot space, after I get all these here. So each one of these spaces is hot. There is a cool little button here, so depending on your maturity level, you can have feedback. Now if you want every time that somebody drags one of the labels in, do you want them to get show that that's a right answer? That might be good for some kids. Other kids start just dragging things in looking for the right answer. So you might uncheck that. That means everybody has to get all of their pieces into the right spot before you get that visual. You might have a student that needs modification, so you might have the start position. You might, whoops, let me put that here. You might need to put something in already as the start and the end place for that student. So that could be a modification you have. Hot spots. So hot spots, this was a background that I created, and what I did with this is you could make any background, but basically if I come over here, let me come to my desktop. Let's see, where is my desktop here? Here's my folder. I have a little hotspots, and I have kids' pictures. And so what I can do is I can crop them and make them, I can't resize them, but I can crop them. And let's say this, what I want is, let's see, I'm going to start everybody in the center, and I'm going to end, this is Jake. So now if I preview this, so I made my background, and I placed it right here. So I made the background. Let me preview it and show you what happens with this. So if I place Jake over here, ding, 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 so I would put all the kids' names there. You can also record, if you have non-readers, you can actually record so that when the kids press on that, it would say whatever the word is that you want. It's called Touch in Here. And then you can have multiple activities. So hopefully that gave you a little hint as to how to get started. I do have Scrapbook, but it's not customizable in Symphony, and the reason, once again, so that when I pull those up, the kids can work with those within that activity pack. I will be sharing this folder. I have backgrounds. I created a PowerPoint of a background. I wanted to show you just really fast. I have a little bit. Look what I did also. I created, and you could do, let me show you this. So I created a little Sudoku game. So I used a frame, and notice it's the same little insects and bugs, and I created a notebook file of it. So let's go here, and let me show you really quick. I have a couple of minutes. Activity 2, so I'm going to open up. I'm going to find that, oops, oh, let's see here. Here's my folder. Here's hotspots. Whoops, that's not what I want. I want insects. So I'm going to drag this down here, make it a little lined up. Click OK. There we go. So now what I have to do, these little insects came from the Smart Exchange. So I'm going to type ladybug. I think they did. Oh, there they are. I think that's right. Oh, it's this one. So I'm going to leave her like that. And then what I would do is I'm going to say, I'm going to just start with the end position. So I have to find the spot. She's going to go right there. And then when I get ready to do the start positions, I might put them all in the center or whatever. But then on this one, you'll see that the dot, the hot spot, is created. So let's do, see how I have a little spot that's hot? Ding, ding, ding. So I gave you the notebook files if you wanted to put, as you could put your own content, but it's just a really easy Sudoku board that I created. So hopefully that gave you some ideas to get started if you're ready to dabble in that, into that. I wanted to, in the file, Brandy Magdos is an EC, or a Smart Exemplar Educator, and I'm an EC. She's a Smart Exemplar Educator. She's created, if you search Brandy Magdos, she's created some step-by-step guides. There is a planning guide that when you're developing your themes that you can open up, and it'll help you to kind of get your ideas, frame those ideas, so that's available. And then I also reminded you about that, where to find the resources. Just cleaning the table, clean your tables, but use alcohol-free, you know, especially around the lots of bugs and germs and stuff are happening. So don't be afraid to clean it. We talked about where to find the Smart Table applications. There's over believe the number is 1,900 activity packs. Start there. Starts with something easy if that's where you're at. Don't forget to go and check out those resources. The educator to educator, so I am posting the resources there, so you'll want to go in and the videos are there. How you get to it, the easiest way is to go to the Smart Exchange, log in to the Smart Exchange, and go to the training link. That is by far the easiest, but I've had some people that have reached out to Tara and myself. Put up here educator to educator. If otherwise, you're not going to find it. That's what I've heard. Everybody's finding the big smart one, but you won't find educator to educator. So search that way. You can join our learning network and then go to the board. The board is where Tara and I are posting all of the resources. So look, I posted the November session. I think it should be there. Yep, it's right there. Oh, except that says playlist. We'll have to check that out. Let's see, what else is there? I think I'm right down to the end. You can search, there's tagging mechanisms. So this one would be STF January 2014. The last thing, it is 5 o'clock. Hopefully I gave you tons of things to ponder, to try out, to see. Stay tuned. You'll get a follow-up message with, I'll include a link to these resources to a Dropbox, as well as their certificate for joining us live today. We always enjoy that. Our next session, so one of the things that I wanted to update you to is that we're going to skip to try to give you some time to kind of work with it. So we're not going to be doing these every month. We're going to do them every other month. As always, if you need any help, please reach out to Tara and myself. And if you have technical questions, reach out to our support department. But we always thank you for joining, that helping you to better use the table. It's a remarkable tool. I've seen, gosh, kids that are nonverbal, kids that are ELL, that the teachers are like, wow, she never talks. And she's actually, this has happened in a classroom a couple of weeks ago, and said she never says anything, but put those kids on the table, and it's just amazing. It gives me chills to think about what happens. Kids that can help other kids, they can watch their movements. So I hope that you have great experiences, great things happening with your table. Tara and I thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on March 31st. And let me know how, if you have any questions over anything that I shared today, or Tara, you can always email us at ed2ed@smarttech.com. Have a great rest of the afternoon or evening, and we'll see you on March 31st.